everybody. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Just here for a little midweek chat, talking about all things Packers in amongst the offseason. And we truly, very much, there are things to talk about, don't get me wrong, but it is the quiet time. Still bracing for the league year to begin. Not yet to the combine, which of course will actually fill out all of our draft conversations, because like I've been saying, until the combine, a lot of this is just kind of spinning wheels and waiting for more data. But thought I would hop on here for a little bit and we can chat anything that you've got on your mind, green and gold, before so many of you, I'm sure, head out to Valentine's Day plans. So, Janelle, I see you're here. Hello, Janelle. Nice to see you here. You know, one question. Oh, there's Chris as well. Hi, Chris. How you doing, man? Happy Valentine's Day, Packer fans. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Chris. So one thing that I do want to talk about right at the top is I've gotten this question from a user named Bubba. He's put this on a few videos now. He really wants me to talk about it. So I thought I'll take a couple minutes to kickstart as people get in here about who are some players, maybe fringe guys on the roster, maybe bottom of the 53, guys who still could make an impact next year, or even just make the 53, which for some of these guys will be an accomplishment. Because as he notes, the season ends and then people immediately turn to, okay, who can we bring in from the outside? When so much of the Packers development plan is guys just kind of ascending through their own ranks. And there are a couple that I think have some possibilities based upon what we saw them do this year. One of them is on the offensive line position. I'm going to name two guys because I think they fit into the same mold, but Luke Tenuta and Caleb Jones. Both guys who, frankly, were kept around for a reason. Now, depending on how the offensive line kind of breaks down next year, we don't know what Bakhtiari's situation is going to be. We don't know if he's going to be back or not. We just don't. But you do, at the very least, have two very good tackles in Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. Yash, probably going to go in free agency. I feel pretty safe saying that one. But then Caleb Jones. They deactivated him or healthy scratched him all year long, and yet there he was on the 53. They kept him for a reason on the 53. Luke Tenuta, through all of his injury rehab, they kept him around. They didn't feel the need to get rid of either of one of those guys to create space for somebody else. That tells me, similar to Yash Nyman earlier in his career, that they do factor into some plans, which kind of then devalues the need for a pursuit of tackle. They're two guys who could make a jump at the very least. Another one who I think is really forgotten a lot about as the Packers transition from this 3-4 base to a 4-3 base is Kobe Wooden, right? Think about all of the people that the Packers now have on this 4-3 defensive line. Even if we're talking 4-2-5, nickel is the true base. Think about all the bodies that they've got for that. Clark, Slayton, Brooks, all probably playing like a true defensive tackle, like traditional type role, but then defensive end is more your edge guys like LVN, Sean Gary, Preston Smith, etc. Kobe Wooden is a little bit of a tweener in that regard, depending on what they ask him to do with his weight. They could ask him to bulk up, play, and stay at defensive tackle. They could ask him to be at like his collegiate weight and play more outside on the edge. He's one guy, especially with Kingsley Enagbari's injury, since he's going to miss most of next year, that I don't think Packer fans should really forget about. He is a tweener who was a little bit of a raw product that needed some development. Well, this year he got some of that. And being on the 4-3 defensive end may suit him better, given his body type, than what they were asking him to do as a 3-4 defensive lineman. He's one guy that I think could factor into future plans more than people are thinking about. And then one last one here, just as a mention here, is the safety position, Anthony Johnson Jr. and Benny Sapp. Similar to Caleb Jones and Luke Tenuta, just pick one, but inevitably one of these guys will more than likely step into a more prominent role next year. We saw Anthony Johnson for a stretch this year have to play due to injuries, and in that time did some nice things, certainly especially in terms of pass coverage stats, did better than what you would expect a 7th-round safety to do. So there's potential there for him. Same thing with Benny Sapp. When they activated him onto the 53, they also guaranteed his contract for this next coming year. I'm sorry, not financially guaranteed. They didn't just elevate him, they gave him another year. That's a better way to say that. So he's certainly someone, too, that they're looking at into more of a plan than just the immediacy. So those are a couple of guys that I think are on kind of the fringe of the roster that may step up into a more impactful role next year. Certainly guys not to be forgotten about as we go through and assess the draft and get excited about the impact free agents that Brian Gutekunst keeps mentioning. Mark, hello to you. Thanks for joining us here. Yes, we can use Wooden or Brooks at end. Yes, I'm inclined to agree with you, certainly. Oh, and then thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Especially Wooden. Like Carl Brooks is a little bit more of an interesting case because in college he did play edge, but like in a big-bodied edge. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how they continue to use Carl Brooks. Kobe Wooden is probably your more typical D-end, especially if they go with what a lot of people are thinking, the San Francisco style usage of 4-3 defensive ends, where both ends are way outside the tackle, like how Frisco uses Nick Bosa, just kicking them way out. If that's the case, could they use Carl Brooks in that role? Oh, certainly they still could. He could do it, but his body shape is a little bit more of a compact, get him closer to the line style edge. So the other thing that I want to talk about that I'm going to be doing a deep dive in, like a full video coming soon on, is free agents who I think make a lot of sense for the Packers. And not every single one of them is the highest, most expensive, most high profile name. There are some guys out there that maybe others aren't thinking about that could fit in impactfully into the defense. And I use that word too. You know, Brian Gutekunst did mention that they're not going to shy away from adding impact players. You know, we've gone through the salary cap. We've talked about it. And I just have to say, I'm a little concerned that he oversold a little, because I know a lot of people now are thinking that they could just go get whoever they want, that they're going to open up the gates, right? And he did use some protective language about only kicking money into the future if they felt it was the right player. I do see them being players in free agency this year, but not at the level that I think some may be thinking. So just a little bit of caution there. But I'll dive into a couple free agents that I have thoughts on after I dance a couple comments. Steve, I think I'm one of the free agents. Man, you go get that league minimum, man. You go get it. You enjoy it. Hey, then we can have a blimp next year. David, hello to you. Nice to see you. And George, hello to you, George. Do you think that they'll move Caleb Jones into rotation this year? Dude is huge and could be a big player, but didn't get a single snap all year. Yeah, I talked about him a little bit a couple months ago. Totally possible that he's going to ascend into a role. They did something very similarly with Yosh Nijman earlier in his Packer tenure, where Yosh was never playing, but yet was always around. And they've done the same thing now with Caleb Jones basically for 2 years. And that, generally speaking, with how they treat their offensive linemen, is generally an individual who they really like the physical traits for. They really like their potential. They just don't trust to do anything yet. And I got to think that Caleb Jones fits into that mold. And year 3 is the time to ascend him into that. So looking at the offensive tackle spot, you got Walker, you got Tom. No doubt about it. Maybe you got Bakhtiari, which kicks Walker into being a swing tackle. Or maybe they put Walker at right tackle and they kick Tom to the interior. Like, we don't know. Options are semi-endless for this offensive line. But I do think Caleb Jones has a really good chance to ascend to being a piece in the rotation this year. Not a regular piece, but someone reminiscent of Yosh a couple years ago, I think is totally possible. Oh, no problem at all, George. So talking about those free agents, I made just a quick short list. Obviously, the one that I would love, like the top free agent target that I would love to see the Packers go get, that I don't think there's any chance in sweet goodness that they're going to, because I think he's going to be retained by his home team, would be Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, just the idea of being able to put him as the center fielder or the box, no matter what, look wherever he's going to go, play him at nickel sometimes. He would become an impact defender for you. Watching him, no, they're different body styles. Yes, they play a different style, but it's just, there's something about the way he plays for me that is so reminiscent of Honey Badger from a couple of years ago when he was at his peak powers. And isn't that the kind of player, the kind of playmaker that the Packers need in the secondary? That just seems to be what they're missing. And I think he would be so much fun at that. However, if Winfield is out of reach, which I'm assuming he's going to be, I do think that there's another guy maybe that might actually hit free agency in the form of Cameron Curl from Washington. He's another guy. You could realistically put him at either place, box or center fielder. someone who's shown competency at doing both things, someone who actually could be in that affordable realm while still being an impact player for the defense. Another one, Xavier McKinney, free agent from the Giants. I really like a lot about him. I think he would be a great addition, especially as a center fielder. He's got the speed for it. And frankly, I know the question may be coming of what is the higher priority to add at the safety position, the box or the center fielder. And for me, it's the center fielder. I would much rather prioritize getting one of them as opposed to box. They may retain Darnell Savage to be the box anyway. I wouldn't be shocked by that at all, but I think you got to prioritize the center fielder. Mark saying, do you think King is in any plans? Will be tagged? Oh, as opposed to or in regards to Antoine Winfield Jr. Yeah, I'm thinking if he's not tagged, they're going to work real hard to secure him. I'd be shocked if he actually hits the market, but boy, he'd be fun in Green Bay. Now, do I think King is in any plans? King. I don't know who you're talking about, Mark. Let me know. King's not coming to mind. McDuffie, Steve saying McDuffie is really going to step up big time this year. Not sure Campbell is here or not. To me, it really feels like Campbell's got a good chance to be a post-June 1 designation release. Oh, free up that $10 million later on in the offseason. Yes, you're taking on $8 million dead in 2025, but just given how things went this year, I know the coaching staff was still very complimentary, constantly calling him a warrior. But the truth is, whether it was disinterest, injury, age, he's just not who he was. And I'm not sure that in this new 4-3 style defense, he's who you want. Maybe you can put him on the strong side backer, but I just don't know about that fit anymore. I'm kind of in the camp of I'd rather go find somebody else. Steve also saying, I think Tyler Newbin will be our Winfield Jr. if we draft him. And I see Newbin as our Nick Collins. Oh, dang. Totally. I think Newbin is really fun, like really fun. And he certainly would fit into the box mold safety. Could do a little bit of nickel, but his main presence would be as the box safety style player. He's going to be a lot of fun in the NFL if he's in the right situation. I wouldn't mind that being Green Bay, frankly. Mark saying people are saying Fuller because Hafley. Well, yeah, and Fuller, another center fielder type, due to be free agent from the Rams, actually was just quoted in an article about Hafley really recently, like a couple days ago, referring to Hafley as the Wizard. Like that was their nickname for him when Fuller played for him. Fuller did have success with him. It's totally possible. Oh, it's somewhere in my brain. I completely lost the name. There's one other player due to be a free agent who played for Hafley back when Hafley was in the NFL. I'm going to have to relook it up. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But yeah, if they're going to give Hafley, I don't want to say reins to go get his own guys or whatever, but certainly bringing in a guy who's got some familiarity, it's not out of the realm of possibility at all. So I can see that for sure. Let's see. And then George saying, who is going to be A.J. Dillon's replacement? Saquon? No. To put it real simply, I don't think it's going to be Saquon. I have a very hard time believing that the Packers are going to invest significant capital at the running back position. Because, yes, as we discussed in the salary cap video, they can, by doing, not even every move at their disposal, they can go from negative $3 million in cap to $57 million in available cap by doing not even every available move. So there is some room to be had there. That is kicking some into the future, but they got to do some. But still, I don't think running back, considering that Aaron Jones is almost certainly going to be back, he still is going to be expensive. Maybe we see them work out an extension if they're not worried about his age at all, but he's still going to be expensive next year, no matter how they finagle the contract. So I just don't see him investing high dollars there. So that probably takes out Saquon. That takes out Jacobs. Probably takes out Pollard, who I think is still going to get handed a bankroll from somebody. But, J.K. Dobbins is probably even going to get paid over their limit. Realistically, if you're looking at the free agent side of things, they're probably looking somewhere in the A.J. Dillon type range, because Dillon probably is going to be in the Jamal Williams type range of running back, something like $3 to $5 million ish, something like that. In which case, then you're looking at A.J. Dillon, Zachary Moss from Indianapolis, who's a free agent if they don't retain him. So there are some other options there, but I would not be thinking Derrick Henry, Saquon, Josh Jacobs. I'd be looking at that lower tier. Well, I will say Pollard would be a heck of a lot of fun. They're just not going to do it. Mark saying Steve is worth more than the minimum. He's saying you're worth more than the minimum, Steve. It's a good thing. So in terms of other free agents that I think could be nice additions to this defense, I got one corner, one linebacker for you. First of all, linebacker, I don't know if he's going to hit the free agent market, but Jordan Brooks. He does have experience in the 4-3 setting. He's got some very good coverage skills. Yes, there have been some injuries in the past there, so something to consider, but I do think Jordan Brooks, if you're looking to replace Devondre Campbell, could be a lot of fun. Another corner would be like Kenny Moore from Indianapolis. One of the better nickel corners in the league for a few years now. Also, in spite of like starting it up there in terms of cornerback age, not at all afraid to mix it up in the run game. And that is something so incredibly vital, because people have mentioned, and I know I've talked about this before, but why don't we kick Jair in at nickel? Well, because given Jair's shoulders, he's still really, really good at coverage. I think you're doing your run game a pretty big disservice then by kicking Jair there, unless he truly is fully healthy and recovered with those shoulders, which it wouldn't bet on anytime soon. So that means you really need a nickel corner who is willing to get in there and mix it up. And to me, that is one of the highest priorities on the entire defense. I shared it in the last video, Ross Uglam's tweet about, please stop rolling out UDFAs. Please stop rolling out kick returners or like these other team practice squatters at nickel. It is a bona fide starting position in the defense. And Kenny Moore would be a nice addition to that for sure. Mark saying Swift. I'm assuming you're talking about Swift, the running back from Philly, in terms of the running back conversation. Yeah, I think you're probably looking in that tier of running back. Maybe he's kind of between the two tiers of like Dillon versus Saquon. Possible, but I got to tell you, I think no matter what, any running back free agent addition, anyone, is going to have to be good at pass pro. Aaron Jones has gotten better and better at pass pro as the years have gone on. Emmanuel Wilson, why didn't he get more playing time when Aaron Jones went down? Part of the reason was because he was actively learning on how to do pass pro. One of the things with A.J. Dillon, yeah, we watched him week after week go out there and just plod for like 2 yards a carry. And it wasn't all his fault, but it still happened. But one thing he was consistently still good at, even in those weeks, was pass pro. And the Packers put such an emphasis, such a value on pass protection. Whoever they bring in is going to have to be competent in that regard. And I will say, I do believe that's one place that Swift has historically struggled. So I will just say probably like tier B for free agents and circle guys who are known for decent pass pro at the very least. Steve asking, John, did you do a mock draft yet? No, I have not. In fact, that's coming. I've done several myself, practice ones. Yeah, definitely. But in terms of publication, that is coming on Friday. That's going to be Friday's video. Friday morning, I'm going to go through the mock draft simulator and do my darndest and then edit that and put that up. So first mock draft will be coming on Friday. I can tell you, basically most of the mock drafts that I wind up doing thus far follow a very, very similar theme. And that basically is corner, safety, Edgerrin Cooper, and an offensive lineman. Like almost always, the first 4 picks wind up going about that way. But Edgerrin Cooper seems to be on the board almost every single time. And he would be a great addition to the new 4-3 defense. So, all right, everybody, unless there's any more comments, I'll hang around for one more minute, but I do believe it's time for me to get on out of here. Do hope you all had a great week thus far. As Steve just mentioned, be on the lookout on Friday for that mock draft video. I'll be putting that out. And then next week, we're going to do a more full deep dive into who the anticipated free agents are. So make sure you check that out next week as well. So thanks everybody for checking this out. I'll be back on Friday. Go have yourself a very, very happy Valentine's Day. Oh, Mark, sneaking one in before the buzzer. Mark saying, do one with a trade back. Oh, maybe I'll even have 2 mock drafts included on Friday. One like staying put, one trading back. Well, we'll see how it goes. But thanks for the suggestion, Mark. All right, everybody. I'm out of here. Go have a happy Valentine's Day. Thanks so much for being here. And as always, where is it? There it is. As always, go Pack, go.